Hello, Southside family. This is Pastor Dwayne. I hope you're having a great week. It has been a beautiful week, and as we get in a little bit of cooler weather, it is nice. We've had a nice day today. It's been really fun, nice being outside. Just a little bit cooler. I mean, cool for Orlando is just a few degrees. People up north of us are really enjoying it. But we will enjoy it. It will get cooler as we go. Today, this week is the first week of fall. So we have that to look forward to as we go. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your faithfulness in supporting all of our ministries through the week. As you know, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and now Thursday night. Thursday night celebrating good news, but we want you to be engaged all week long. Remember, we do have something in person on Wednesday nights, a Bible study that will start next Wednesday called Don't Waste Your Life. They'll be studying that book. Michaela will be leading that discussion. And then also we have Sunday mornings at 9 and 11 in the church, but you can also tune those in online. Tonight is a special celebrating good news. As you know, our church is involved in missions. We're involved with the Harvest Partner Ministry. And if you're not familiar with the Harvest Partner Ministry, what it does is it links our church together with an area that is needing mission money. And we know that when we give, we don't want to be a church that just gives to ourselves or even to our community. We want to be a church that has global focus as well within our organization of the Church of God of Prophecy. The region that we are partnered with is the IOU region. That's Idaho, Oregon, Utah. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But tonight, our special guest is our friend and who is over this region, Bishop Wallace Pratt. And we're so glad to have him. Glad to have you tonight, Bishop. You may need to unmute. Oh, there you are. And Bishop Pratt, right now, what's happening, especially in Oregon, is a really dire situation, and this is what we wanted to bring everyone's attention to. Will you tell us a little bit about what's going on there?
Well, as you know, and it's true for Florida too as well, we started out with COVID that hit here in March pretty badly, mainly because we're so proximity to Washington, which was one of the initial places that New York that it really broke loose on. And so we have faced a lot of shutdowns in Oregon, Idaho, and Utah, but especially in Oregon. And then right after that came the protests, not really connected to Black Lives Matter. They were not really the ones behind it. It was another very militant group. And so they kept things stirred up for about 100 days here. But we moved right into the wildfires here in Oregon. And here we're calling it Tribageddon because we had three horrible things happen within a span of probably 6-7 months that all this has happened. But the wildfires have been the most devastating in history here. And I might set the stage for that so your listeners will understand is that we, at the height of this, we have had the driest year in record in Oregon. We've had the hottest temperatures in Oregon in history. And the third part of that really made it bad is we had the highest winds sustained here over the last 2 months that's ever been recorded here. So when you have temperatures here between 90 and 100 degrees and you have no rain, we haven't had significant rain since April, and then follow that with the situation of these winds, we had straight line winds of about 117 miles per hour. That's hurricane style. And so you put those three together, we had what was called spontaneous combustion, where fires were just literally starting on their own. No lightning, no man-made reason, just would be ignited by a falling rock or whatever. And so we had 38 fires at the height of this just 2 weeks ago, burning at one time. And it has burned. Is it okay to give these details?
Oh yeah, please do.
We had 1.2 million acres consumed. That's more acres consumed by fire than has been recorded here in the last 14 years combined. So it was significant. Not only that, we had the population here is about 5.5 million people in Oregon. They had to evacuate 540,000 people. That's 1/10 of the entire population of the state had to be displaced and had to be evacuated. I live in Salem, Oregon, which is the capital, about an hour south of Portland. And we were surrounded on every side by fire, to the east, to the west, to the north, the south. So most of these fires happened between what is called the coastal mountains, which are right next to the coastal towns and stuff, and the Cascade Mountains. And so it was almost like the winds were funneling it right up and down the valley here and all through the western Oregon, all the way far as south as Ashland, which is very famous for Shakespearean, plays and that stuff, all the way far as north as the Portland metro area. So all these fires are burning at one time. We had over 3,000 firemen fighting it. We had over 800 National Guardsmen fighting. Oregon firefighters are considered the best in the world. They have been to Australia, Canada, various states whenever called upon, even California, to help them. This year, when all this happened over the last month, they could not send anybody out because they had to have them all here. There was too many fires. They couldn't even man all the fires. Some they just had to let burn because they could not get into them. They were too remote wilderness area. But unfortunately, the worst fires of these are two. Well, there's three real bad ones. One was up towards Portland, which is towards Oregon City. And those who don't know where that's at, it's on the southeast sector of the Portland metro area. There was a large fire that broke out there that went to 100,000 acres. So you can see how dangerous it was. They were fighting to keep it out of the city, the metropolitan area there, which would have been 2 million people. So they were fighting that. They were fighting to keep it out of Salem because this is the main place where they brought over 200,000 of those evacuees came here. Our fairgrounds, where the state fairgrounds, were filled up. All its buildings were filled up. The civic centers were filled up. The convention centers were filled up. People, all hotels were filled. So our city went from about 250,000 to about 400,000 people, or 450,000 people within a few days. So it was very dangerous. The final area was down, I'm talking about the specific areas that were hit. Down where our churches are at was down towards Medford, Ashland area, and up towards Roseburg, Sutherland. That area, that fire there was very large. So you can see what we were facing. If you look here at the one that was called the Beachy Fire near Salem here, burned within 15 miles of Salem, which is extremely dangerous, with about a combined population of this area of 350,000. It would have been devastating if it got inside the city. It would have been over with. So they were fighting lines so bad that at one point the firemen that were stretched out east of our city towards the Cascade Mountains there, they were trying to stop it from coming this way, and the fire literally jumped. If you can imagine this, it jumped because of the high winds. It jumped over a half mile and jumped right over the firemen and caught them between it. And so fortunately they escaped by using methods that they have learned here. And it was just, but they lost all the fire engines. They lost 10 or 12 fire engines. They lost everything in that particular area they were fighting. So that's mainly what we've been facing. Originally, they said they expected about 200 dead, but they've downgraded that now, and I'm really glad. They have found most of the people that were missing. And so now there's only about 20 dead in the state from these fires, maybe a little more when they actually get into the remote areas and the houses. But there has probably been about 600 people injured in some way or whatever. I don't know, that's the best place to start unless you have a particular question. It's we have 4 pastors evacuated and their churches. Mm-hmm. Our church at Silverton, our church at Staten, our church at Sutherland, and our church at Roseburg, Oregon. All of them were evacuated. But the entire, from here going up the 22, the Highway 22 going east up to the top of the Cascades up there that goes over, 14 cities were completely, our towns were completely consumed. They're gone. A beautiful town, 600 houses just gone in one town alone.
Oh, wow.
That kind of gives you an idea of what the hell happened.
Did we lose any churches, or we don't know yet?
No, we've now inspected them all, thank the Lord. We lost no church buildings. That is incredible. One, it burned all the trees around the church and all the houses, but did not touch the church. It was wow. Many stories like that. In one place, our pastor, every house was burnt around him, about 400 houses. The one he lives up at Lines, the pastor of Staten, and just got off the phone talking with him this morning, and he was just in tears because when he got there, it was hard to see all the houses around him and all the buildings burned, and his house and one house down the road are the only 2 houses standing. So in his house, now he did lose some outbuildings that were burnt and some trees out there, but he's going to be okay. Like he said, I can lose one garage building. Right. Now, one of our churches down south, Sutherland, they lost some of the, like outside areas and stuff like that, but the main church was saved and the parsonage was saved. Down in Roseburg, now all these pastors evacuated. They just now have got back in.
Right.
And that's where we are. Thank goodness over the weekend we had 2 days of rain. The first rain we've had in like 4 or 5 months. And we've got coming tomorrow 3 days of rain coming in now. So they're still fighting. The fires are considered now down to out of 38. They're down fighting about 28 of them, or 26. And right. Most of them are like 20-30% contained. Which means they're gaining ground now for the first time. Because last week, as of Monday of last week, none were contained, 0. So it's amazing. God has really made a difference. And these brave firemen that have given their lives, many of them, for this, they're working 18-hour shifts nonstop. They've been working for one. So.
Well, we prayed specifically because you sent me that message on Sunday morning. During our church, you said, pray for rain, and we prayed for rain. So that's an answer to prayer. Prayer works.
It does. And so that's the big thing. Now most of our churches, what they're trying to do is they're trying to determine which people's houses in their church, their membership, their congregations may have suffered damage.
Right.
They won't know that. See, the National Guard here is controlling all the it's controlling something like almost 500,000 acres right now that contains roads or highways. Main highways are shut down here. So like our US 22 is closed, Highway 20 is closed, Highway 18 is closed, Highway 26 is closed. These are main highways here in the state that go east to west. So all of them are controlled by the National Guard. So we haven't been able to get in to see every home. We can't. I wish today I could give you a report and say every home is safe in our churches. I can't do that. Some of those areas are completely gone. So we won't know until we're allowed back in.
Right. Well, we're just going to keep praying. We're going to keep praying for rain to keep falling and for strength and stamina and comfort for those who are fighting those fires too. And pray for your pastors too, because it's hard to have you're going through that personally, but you're also there to be a light to other people and kind of provide hope. So how are the mood? I mean, how are your pastors doing when you talk to them personally?
Well, I've said this entire my region. This probably could go across the United States, but this has probably been the toughest year on a pastor that I've ever seen in our region. I've had to deal with more pastors who are depressed. Many of them feel alone. Um, and we've had Zoom meetings almost every other week with all of our pastors, trying to keep them encouraged.
Right.
I've had to probably, thank goodness, none have resigned yet. I am thankful. I've actually had, in just the last 2 weeks, had to talk 10 pastors out of resigning because they're just tired. They're wore out from
Right.
all these things that's happened. And this year, as one said the other day, these 8 months have been harder to pastor than the previous 8 years. And I think it's just a culmination of everything coming in. And you know how it is, Dwayne. It's
Yeah.
when you have to deal with COVID and then you have to turn around and deal with all the rest. Our church is important. We're dealing with the riots up there, and then that has calmed down a lot, that part. But now with the fires calmed that down. People got afraid that they were going to be burned up.
Right. Right.
So, I think our guys are just trying. You were talking about your church attendance earlier. Our churches are probably have got back to 50 to probably 80% capacity, in that area. Many of them, the people are afraid to come back, because of the COVID. Here in this state, we lost about 500 and something people that died from it. We had over 6,000 people get sick from it. So here we were really tight, though. Mandates were very hard,
Right.
which they did a good job. I'm proud of our governor. Masks have been worn by everybody, inside, outside, everywhere. Churches are under very tight, requirements, restrictions, which I'm glad for. And our pastors have been really excellent at complying. I will tell you that,
Yeah.
right. They've been very good. And so we have mitigated the amount of damage that could have done or people getting sick, because Washington and California are on sides of us. And let me tell you, they have been devastated. And Oregon,
Right.
considering our population here, we've only probably suffered about, I would say, 1/3 of the kind of impact they have per capita. So
Right.
we've done well, but it's taken a strong emotional toll and spiritual toll on leaders, I think, as a whole. And that's just being honest with your listeners.
Sure. And I shared on Sunday morning, there is an emotional toll, and we prayed for this region. That's one of the reasons why our mission emphasis this month is to give a special offering for your region. And because when people are going through things like that, sometimes it just helps to know that other people are aware of it.
That's true.
And that's what we want to do. We want people to know tonight, as we're talking about this, to be aware this is part of our family, and they're suffering, and we're suffering with them. That we want to be there for them, and it's whatever we send, it's not going to replace anything. It's not gonna, it's not anything magical. It's going to be the thought that we're in this together, and we're part of the same. We're under the same banner, and we're part of the same church family, and we love you. So it's a sign of that. You have anything else you want to add? I'm going to switch gears in just a moment.
I would say about all this is that one of the pastors who talked to me this morning, I've been in touch with them all. He touched my heart when he said, if we were to get some assistance, if your office could help. And I told him, I said, well, it's dependent on us getting other people to help us. And he said, but if it happens, he said, would you be opposed if we didn't use it all, if we felt like there was greater needs, could we help some of our neighbors? And he said that have lost everything. I thought that was pretty good. That was thinking of others. That's the way Jesus would think. And
Right.
that, of course, if that's what happens and you feel like that they need it more than you do, I don't think those who give would be opposed to you helping those who have the greatest need. So to me,
Right.
that shows a very unselfish pastor, even though he's been through all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the heart. That's the heart of Jesus right there. Just to be thinking of other people.
Yeah.
As your harvest partner, one of the things that we promote a lot when we're talking about missions in your region is your work with the Navajo Nation. And so I wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to catch everybody up to speed on that. We want those of us in our church to know this is where our support is going, and this is the work that's being done. So if you want to share a little bit about what's going on there.
Well, the Navajo Nation, the Lord has helped us. We were able to build a church for them. We were able to get 5 acres of land, which has never been done. The Navajo Nation Tribal Council signed a 99-year lease with us for the land because they don't sell land to non-native groups or whatever. And but they gave us a 99-year lease because they trusted us. And 2 of the members of the Tribal Council are members of our local church. One of them is a chief, and the other one's a princess in the tribe. And they gave us that lease, and they asked me to write up the lease and offer what I wanted. So we wrote up a lease, very detailed, which you have to legally, you had to have it done right. But we put on the lease that we wanted to use it for 99 years at $0 per month. And I thought when they got it, they would laugh, but they said they were instead, Bob Beaver, who's one of the tribal members from our church, he said they were very impressed by that. They said, this man has faith. He will do this. Just let him have this land free. And they did it. They gave us that. They agreed to it and signed off on it. So we have that land. So we built the church feeling that we had a 99-year agreement. We built a building on it. It's a beautiful building. On the Navajo Nation, it's not valued that much. But if that same building was here in this city, it'd be worth $2 million. So
wow.
And all that was donated. All of our people donated all the stuff, the materials, people that helped us in different places. And then we took a group of 20 people down there, builders and everything, everything from plumbers to electricians to carpenters and whatever. We built that church in 1 week. It just to watch those 60-foot walls being lifted up, these walls that are 12 feet high. That's a neat thing to see go up. And so it's all finished. They're using it not only for our local church, Yahweh Church of God of Prophecy, but they're also using it that was a thing we asked them to agree to, is to allow it to be open to the community, to have community events there and stuff like that. So they're doing it. I will say the last thing about the Navajo, they've been shut down all year. Since the 1st of March, they've been quarantined. You can't get off the freeways, you can't get off the highways to go in there. The National Guard is blocking everybody because in the 1918 Spanish influenza, 1/3 of the entire Navajo Nation was destroyed by that Spanish influenza. So this thing is very dangerous because they have no hospitals on the nation there, and it's about the size of New Jersey. Imagine that. And it sits there. They have a few very rudimentary clinics that can help with a few things. But if this thing gets in there really bad, it could just wipe out the entire tribe. They would have trouble. As of this point, the last time I talked to our pastor, his name is Patchy Coho, he said that they have only on the nation had about 200 deaths, and they've only had about probably, I think he said somewhere around 8,000 cases, which is very, very good. I mean, when you look at it, them being confined in areas with very few medical conditions. So they're doing well. And I've had to cancel 3 trips down there this year. I can't go in. They won't allow me to go in right now. The government won't allow me to go in, and
Right.
so I have another trip planned for the 15th through the 17th of October. If it doesn't get canceled, if don't open up, I'll have to postpone that again. But me and two of our other pastors are going down there to have spiritual meetings with them, and then also to talk to them about their needs and take in some assistance and stuff. So that's what our plans are for right now.
That's great. That's great. When they are operating, when you've been in services with them, what are services like there?
Oh, very unique. As you know, the only other language the Navajo know is other than their native language, which the Navajo language is called Dene. And, the Navajo were the only Native American tribe never to take up arms against the United States. They've had, like, I don't know, 5 treaties broken by the U.S. government towards them, but they have never broken one, and they have been very obedient. In World War II, the Code Talkers saved America in the Pacific.
Right.
20,000 of their people served as Code Talkers in the Pacific, and the Japanese at the time could never break that code. The Dene language is very tough to learn, and so even people in the United States, nobody knows it unless you're over 50. The chances are you know very little of the language down there even. So English is the other language they speak, and most anybody under the age of 50, I would say under the age of 50 or 60, can speak fluent English. So they're very good. But their language, boy, if you go to one of their services, their music is so beautiful. It is just has a soothing sound to it, and so they are really believers in the baptism of the Holy Spirit. I'm gonna tell you right now, not just Church of God of Prophecy, all over the Navajo Nation, they really believe in, and they call the Holy Spirit the Big Spirit. And they'll say things like, well, the Big Spirit was here tonight. And so they're very strong about that. So they're very jubilant, happy, when they sing and whatever they do. Pretty emotional in their worship. And I don't mean radical, just very emotional and very heart.
Right.
And they play a lot of great instruments. I have to tell you, the sound of our local church there, it sounds like somebody singing in the Dene language, singing to 1950s music. What I mean is
really?
The little rock background of that kind of music. That's what it sounds like. It's really unique. I've never heard anything like it anywhere. And I've traveled 46 nations, but that is the most unique way of worship I've ever heard.
Well, we have people at our church, especially because this is our partner, that really want to come visit. So hopefully in the future, sometime when all these shutdowns are lifted and we're able to travel more frequently, I know we have people in our church that want to come be a part of that.
Oh, I'd love to help. Be a person that could be a host to them, or I could have Jimmy Palma, who's like our presbyter over that area. He's actually Peruvian, lives up in the Salt Lake City area, but he's like the emissary to that area, has had a lot to do with the building and doing things down there. And if you guys are coming out, I'll get you in touch with Jimmy Palma, and he would, I don't know if you know this, he's from the, what is called the Inca Indians. They're I would actually know the tribe it is. They found out that them and the Navajo are ancient brothers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it almost hit me what it was called, the Chechu or something like that, but they are interrelated to the Navajo. They were just the ones that went farther south into South America, but they are actually of the same ancient tribe.
Oh, cool.
Navajo. So, boy, he was just instantly accepted when he went in there with me. They thought he was Navajo.
Oh, wow.
Like, so, so very unique. So.
Well, it's good to talk to you, Bishop, and just thought we would share as much with our congregation as we want. I thought I might give you just a few moments at the end if you want to say something directly to our church, maybe concerning their support, or even inspirational word, whatever you might have on your heart. That you just imagine that you're standing up there at our pulpit in our church, and they gave you the opportunity to speak. We'd love to just hear from you, hear your heart for a moment.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Southside. I want to thank you for your efforts and help. Churches like yourself have been a tremendous help to us. There's another church in Florida. I'm trying to remember, is it in Garden City? Do you have one in Garden City? But between the two of you, you have been so helpful. I really thank God for those of your congregation who are listening to this for their efforts, because they helped us even in the building process. And ever since then, in fact, we're sending out today $250 from our office to our pastor to help him personally, because as you know, many people haven't been able to work over the last many months, and he has been living on about half his normal salary. And so we have helped him 2 or 3 times from this fund, and I'm just thankful for that. So I thank them. I would serve this inspiration to all your people. Pretty soon that we'll have a message coming out, something I'm sure you've heard of, called the White Wing Messenger. we have an article, and Marsha Robinson had asked me to send this to her, and I have. It's something I had on my heart a lot, and so I share it with your people, just this brief thought about it. And it's called God's Servant at the Bottom of the Mountain. And I pray it will inspire people around this globe when they read it. But I think every man or woman who's a God's servant goes through times when they're on the mountaintop and everything seems well. But I tell pastors and ministers, be careful. Don't be caught off guard by that illusion, because mountaintop experiences don't go on forever. A mountaintop is not a plateau. There's going to be a valley experience usually following it. And I would just say all of us in this nation have been through a valley, a long one, and it's been difficult. But I am reminded that it's how we handle the valley that will determine how we'll actually handle the next mountaintop. If we handle this valley well, then when the next mountaintop comes, we will not be misled by it or think that that great victorious time is a permanent thing. It is a season of life that we enjoy, but we use it to give us strength for the next weeks or months or even years that we walk through a valley. So I would say to your listeners, just be encouraged to know that God knows the ebb and flow of every tide that hits our beaches. And you guys have beaches, we have beaches. And you learn that there's low tides and high tides. Am I right? And you know that you don't want to be fooled by those. You want to remember that if you're having a high tide, you can be sure that there's a low tide coming also. So just be encouraged to keep on, be faithful to God, serve Him in good and bad times, which we'll always have. But God is faithful no matter what season you're passing through in your life. So God bless your listener today.
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for your leadership. Southside family, I want you to remember this region, remember this bishop and his presbyters and his pastors in prayer for what they're going through right now. Many of us, we've just been so what we felt like overwhelmed with a shutdown, but we haven't had all the other things that have been added, the things that you guys have been going through. So let's continue to remember them, and remember that this month is special giving toward this cause for this region to help them in however they need help. However, the bishop, wherever he sees the greatest need, that's what we want to do, and we want to send it with love so that they know that we are hurting with them, and that we're praying for them, and we love them. Thank you so much, Bishop, and keep up the good work. It's great to talk to you again.
Thank you. We're praying for you during hurricane season, a very unusual one.
I know, yeah, no kidding. Thank you so much.
God bless you.